Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I am back with my Roxy Journal of Stitchery Mossy Forest. So since the last episode where I was going through my supplies and having a think through things and showing you how to make these little Suffolk puff mushrooms or fungi, and I did mine using upholstery fabric, I have proceeded to put it all together. So I put my base fabrics down, first of all one to fully encase around the card that I'm using. So I used I think 3 or 4 layers of card, so it's really nice and stable as a base. I then glued those bits of back fabric down, which were my hand painted fabrics, and then I've just used an old bit of additional fabric to give it extra stabilizing on the back, and then I've been stitching through to that as I added my branches down and adding my felted jumper layer to the base of it, so that the felted layer will, when it's sitting up on my shelf, it will just sit out from the front like this, so you'll actually be looking at the piece like that, or you can get down nice and low and sort of get the view of the piece somewhat. I guess if I turn it like this, that will be kind of the view if you get down low and look at it. So I've added some lace elements to the background. I used some of the lovely lace that I'd got from Fleur Woods at the workshop, or the retreat I attended with her at Green Doors. So I just fussy cut out a few bits, and then I used my Inktense just to give them a little light greeny colour. So there's sort of some ferny pieces behind here. I have actually attached the back of this mushroom through to the back of the piece just to hold it, because it was starting to sort of try and move forward, which probably isn't terribly much of a problem, but I wanted them to just stay a bit more secure. And this one I've just attached to this, which I'll come to in a moment. So this was that rectangle of old stitching back from when I used to make little stitched animals, and it was just an orphan rectangle, and I've added a little bunny rabbit into there. Oh yeah, that one has also got caught with thread as I've been stitching it down, but it was just a little bit of IKEA fabric. Let me see if I've got the fabric. Yes, I do. It was an old IKEA, I think a doona, children's doona or something, but it has all these sweet little woodland animals on it, including a little bunny. So I just used then a bit of my fabric marker to just sort of outline and make it a bit darker around it, so that it looked like it was in a little hole. And then I used some beautiful Strawberry Thief Liberty fabric to fussy cut out one of the little birds with an area around it and its little strawberry there. And I put that within, it's attached by one thread, but I will be attaching it in a bit more. I put that within one of my little wire thread wrapped hoops, and so that's almost got its own little, like a little tree trunk hold, or a little tree root hold. So it's just a little place where the bird has made a little secret nest down there to keep its strawberry thief strawberries. So I think that's very sweet. And then I've felted some fibre into these little crevices. We can add some more ourselves. I've added more fibre felted in around here. I've used that fabric coated pipe cleaner, which I've wended my way around to really give beautiful sense of sort of, I guess, movement in the piece. And then I have used, I'm just having a look where it might be. Let me move my little felting tools out of the way, because I'll try and grip onto things. It was one of my beautiful Carlund yarns. Just having a looky here, but as it is, you can never find what you're looking for when you're looking for it. But I basically used a very fine little knobbly yarn to then wrap. I attached it in at this end and attached it in at the final end, but then wrapped it around the fabric coated pipe cleaner. Used a greeny coloured lace to make some more little licheny or ferny plant clumps. So I tucked one in here, along with some of these little round balls that also came off the felted jumper. You might remember there were a row of them along the back, and I removed it. I've actually got some more of them, which I may well use for this piece as well. I've actually got a few little bundles of them. I used some of this lovely trim, which always reminds me of little mushrooms. So I wended that around like they're like little baby ones yet to pop up. So they sort of wend their way down there. I used some of my orts off when I've been kind of having woven fabric. So these are just some little browny, fluffy orts that I thought might be nice around there. I used some of this. I took the brown out of it and used it down here just in front of this. Was another one of my little wire wrapped little holes, and I actually put a button inside here which has all these little bobbly shapes on it, but I thought it almost looks like a little eggs or something like that of the insects in the, could even be like a little wild honeycomb or something. I found this button last night just as I was finishing up. It's a beautiful wooden button, but just the perfect shape for a little mushroom. It's even got the little mushroom stem, which is the sort of the shank on it. And so I think we'll use some more of, I've kept this out somewhere over here. I've got some of this, which I think I might use along the front here. I also, and I can show you how I made these little tufty, sorry if you can see, these little tufty bits, which I've stitched in place back here. So again, I was just, stitching down through the felt, because the felt became a great surface for me to work into. I've started a little collection of French knots cascading sort of down over the front, and I thought we could do some of that together. I will need to add a few more stitches just to sort of hold my little hidies in here in the perfect spot. But yeah, I'll show you some felting, and then I'll show you how I make, this was again something that I just saw these buttons and thought, oh, wouldn't these be great as little mushrooms? Oh, I've got to find where my other little mushroom, the one that I definitely was going to add, where has that gone hiding? That's okay, we're going to have a, oh, there it is, found it. We're going to have to attach this one on. This is what originally started me thinking with the mushroom buttons, which I got from the lovely Gladdy and Flo, so that's definitely got to go on. And then I've got some beads over here in this little beading tin that I'd like to add in. I added in the eyelash yarn. I don't know, yeah, you can probably see it down there. So I've just sort of nestled that in underneath, and it's sort of tufting up over here. So yeah, I'll show you how to make those mushrooms. I'll show you how I do the felting. I'll show you how I even mix the fibres together for the felting. What else do I need to show? Fine, I've got my little nest up here, an ort nest up on the branch, and I've put some little white bead eggs into that. I'm not sure how well you can see, it's a bit hard because the branch comes up here. And then I've wrapped some of my own sort of bobbly yarn. It was just some yarn scraps from my last texture piece. So I've got those wrapped in, and they come down even sort of to where the nest is. So I think that works quite well. And it definitely, it could easily be what you find in nature. This is obviously the natural lichen that's beautifully preserved. Did I mention, I think I did mention, I've coloured these just with Inktense to make some little ferny bits in the background, and this from the lovely Fleur Woods lace. I'm just going to have a sip of water. So I'm filming this on Sunday, but I'll probably put it up in a few days' time. So what I might start by doing is show you how I mix my felted wools together, because it's always handy to have a bit of sort of mossy. So this is some of the stuff that I've already mixed. I'm going to pull out a wadge of, let me just move this out of the way actually, I'm going to pull out a wadge of this, which is a Shetland olive. And then I'm going to, apologies for the rustling, I'll pull out a bit of this Corriedale conifer. A bit of this eucalyptus fir, as in fir, the colour of the fir tree, but a eucalyptus fibre. So funny actually, I discovered these eucalyptus fibres at the last time I was at the Fleur Woods retreat, and then this Friday I've got another little mini retreat, a 3-day retreat, which will be lovely. So again, this is the eucalyptus fibre in the colour leaf. Perfect. I think I've already pulled a bit of that one, but we'll grab a bit more. Why not? A piece of lace caught in there. Is that the same as, no, different colour that one actually. So let's grab a bit more of that. And is this the one I had earlier? No, this is another colour. Let's get a bit of that as well. And we have some darker ones also. Is that the one I had? Yeah, that was the fur one. Maybe I need, sorry for the rustling. I have the conifer coloured. No, I don't think I had this one. And I have that one. It's probably enough to mix together. I've got this muted colour, a bit more of a olivey colour, so we'll get rid of that. So these are for, I think they're meant to be dog brushes, but they work really well for mixing your fibres together. It was my lovely friend Martha that suggested the dog brush version of these. I'm assuming you can get ones particularly meant for fibres, but these were just from the $2 shop nearby. And it's a really effective way to get the colours sort of mixing through without having to do it all sort of by tearing it yourself. And you can mix as much or as little. Sometimes you might want them to be more almost like marbled in colours. Sometimes you want them to be really, really mixed together. Let's manage to get a bit of pink in there, but that probably doesn't matter too much, but I will take that out. And they actually come out quite well from it, which is good. There's still a few little bits left there. That's given a lovely sort of mossy. That was my other mix of mossiness. They kind of go well together. So again, I'll just give them a further little mix. And so if I was wanting to use some of that on my piece, and I'll show you how I do it. I've just got my little single felting tool. I'll show you how I keep them. I keep them now just stuck in a little, one of these little baubles, which are just a felted wool bauble. And I just keep them in a jar. So this is my single felting tool. And if we wanted to, excuse me, definitely the fluffs. And I'll just angle it down so I'm felting into the wool rather than into the backing piece. Because I'm going to be felting it down through the wool rectangle piece that I formed into this little sort of stumpy hidey hole for animals. And so I'm just using the little, and these have little barbs on it that help to, yeah, felt it in. And I don't want it to be like totally flat. I don't mind if it still is a bit sort of fibrous. I just want it to be well attached into there. And we might even put a little bit at the front here. So again, if you want to kind of get it started, you can give it a little twinkle in your fingers as well. And again, I'll just do it down on the angle. And that will just help to give a little. But it's been such fun creating this. It's really like being a kid and being back in a little magic fairyland that you might create at the base of a little tree or something. I love little miniature worlds. And yeah, the painted felted piece of a jumper, that has just worked incredibly well. So that's that one done. So I'll put my felt back in its little felty bag down here. But yeah, you can definitely add felt wherever you want it. What we might do, and let me put my little felt back into its jar out of the way. So we might make one of our little button mushrooms here. So what I'm going to do is get a white pipe cleaner. I'm going to work out which way I want the top. So I want the top to be this little sort of flangey end here. I'm going to make a little crook in the top. And then I'm going to bring it down so that it's just pointing through, and then I can bend it over. I might just use the tip of my needle to help me bend it over one way or another. There we go, bending down so it's not going to be pointy. And then I usually just cut it off. I'll use my non-fabric scissors for that. And I'll just twist this bottom bit around again so that it's not going to be stabby. And then I usually get a piece of, just a piece of crochet yarn. Let me actually just move you out a little bit. I'm worried I'm going to be going off camera because I'm so close, so close angled in. Let me also just pop those felty bits out of the way. I'll just set the bowl, I'll set that up a bit so it's sitting at a nice angle. So I'm going to get some crochet yarn, and yes, I will probably need my smaller needle actually. Is that too small? No, that's okay. So I'm just going to put a little knot in the end of my thread. Just cut off the tail. And I'm just going to pop that like that. Just go up and over, which will help to just sort of hold the tufty bits. And you can, if you don't want fully tufty bits on the top from the coat hanger, not the coat hanger, the pipe cleaner. Why did I say coat hanger? I don't know. And then you're going to wrap your crochet yarn around, and it's quite good if you have some of those little tufty bits down the stem, because they definitely are something that you do get with mushrooms. So I'm going to go all the way down. I'll put a bit extra around the base. If you want to, you can go up again, depends how thick you want your mushroom stem to be. And then if you want, you can continue down again. And then once I'm at the base, I'm going to just go through. There will be a little there might be a little loop where you bent the wire up on itself, and that's a good place to go through if you can. I'll just put a little knot in to hold it nicely. And so then that's a nice little mushroom, and I love that because they're on the pipe cleaner wire, you can bend them. And then I'm going to work out from my positioning where I want it to be. I think it could be quite nice just sort of maybe bending over this way. So I will pop it through the felt. Oops, what's it doing? Oh, where's that one come from? Hang on, something's gone a bit awry with my wrapping. Probably doesn't really matter. I just need to fix that little loosey thread. I might just do another little bit of wrapping to anchor that down, back down through the bottom. Oops. Try not to poke yourself. Nor get your tail stuck. All the hazards. And then, yeah, I might even put it a tiny bit higher than I was going to put it. I think, yeah, that'll be even better up there. Sometimes things happen for a reason, I'm sure of that. And then I usually just come back up into it a couple of times to try and sort of hold it in good position. So back down through the felt. And then just back up through it again. And then back down through it, and then that's probably enough stitches there. So I'll just put it down flat to make it easier for me to get underneath and put the, ouch, Had a lovely outing this morning. I went to visit Chelsea, who I had previously purchased some of that amazing vintage lace from, and she let me have a look through her stash of goodies and purchase some little treasures. So stay tuned to see those. I showed restraint. I could have happily had it all, but I selected out some very special little pieces for myself. So there's the little mushrooms. Might need to put an extra anchoring stitch back in that one, but that's okay. That can be for another time. Let's now add, oh no, we're going to add, while we're at it, we're going to add this little one in. Where do we want to put this? Will we put this down? So we've got a little cluster here. I feel like then I might need a third one, or will we put this? No, but then we'd have 4, and I tend to not want 4 things. Or will we put that down there? Maybe we'll put it there. I think so. Let's get a new piece actually of the crochet yarn. You could use something else, but this just gives a good secure hold. Yeah, I love those little button mushrooms. But mushrooms are many different ways. Okay, so I'll just put it down flat again and pop up approximately where I want my mushroom. So this is my little Gladian flow button. So just going to show I do start using the things I buy. Even though these were on the sweetest little cards, I just, yeah, as soon as I got this one, I think when I bought it, I was thinking that would make a perfect little mushroom. And then we go and get this prompt. There we go. I think that's got enough stitches to hold it, just 2 stitches. And this is what I was looking for before. I was like, where is my needle? That's where it is. Do you do that? Do you end up with needles secreted in all the strangest places? Or is it just me? Okay. Right. So that's now in there, which is sweet. It's very hard with the light because the light's coming through the window, and this piece with the board behind it means it's a bit hard to see if I've got it sitting up. So did I finish sewing? I'm trying to think if I finished sewing down these little pieces here. Maybe that's why the needle was still in there. I think. So just get that tied off. And then we might add some more of those little grassy pieces as well. Probably keep this needle threaded, but tied off properly, obviously, because I can use that when we do our next little clump. So for that, I am using some of, oh, there's my eyelash yarn that I was trying to show you before. That's the eyelash yarn. Perfectly greeny colours. So this is what I was using to make these little grassy bits. And the great thing is I've got a huge roll of it, and it frays beautifully at the ends, like you can see here. So all I've been doing is, once I've got a nice fray end, or a piece that I want to fray as the end, I've just been putting a little knot in, and then going a bit further over and putting another knot in, and then cutting it off to create another fray piece. And doesn't have to be too precise about length, and then I fray it down with my fingers. You can sort of keep, if you want it extra squiggly, you can give it a bit more scrooging up. So that's got 2 different sort of, I guess, lengths of fray bits, and then I'll do a few more. I usually do about 3 at least for a cluster. Just putting a bit of distance between where my knots are, cutting the next bit, and then twisting the ends like that, and like that, and then we'll do another one. And another. Here and here. And then like that. And there we are. Well, that one hasn't even been frayed all the way down. And so then I sort of work out where the middle of my little frayed pieces is. And maybe I will need actually, if I use a different piece, I might get a longer piece of this, just a greeny thread. We're not really going to see it much. Let me get that so it doesn't attach to my, oh, there's the other piece I was looking for. This is what I wound around the vine at the bottom. I did put everything in a sensible place, but did I actually keep it there? And then I think I've just lost the piece of thread that I just took off my cotton as well. All happening. Okay, there it is. Right. So I will thread my longer piece of thread onto my needle. So that's ready to go. And then what I usually do is, as I say, line these up so the middles are approximately there. Grab your cotton. Doesn't need a knot for this particular bit of the process. And then I just give it a bit of wrapping so that they all get anchored together. And then you can also give them a bit of wrapping around the base of them. Then you can use your needle and just go through it a couple of times to, I guess, anchor it. And then if at this point you wanted to do any trimming or any further teasing out of your little bits and bobs, and then we can work out, I was thinking it could kind of go, but we might give it a bit of a trim. What can I trim it into? Just use my little sugar bowl from my Nana and Grandpa. Don't want to trim it too evenly, but I do want it to be just a little bit more bushy. And then I was thinking that can go down into here, although I don't want to block out too much of that. Or do I put it just a bit in here? Yeah, maybe I have it there. I think that could work. Okay, so I'm going to pop it. Pop it down, pull it over. Check that I'm happy with how that looks. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty good. And what I can do is use a little bit of it to disguise where I've attached my little mushy to the rock. Perfect. Bit of mushy disguise. So then I'll pop back up and just anchor it a couple of times up into here. Oops. Pull, anchor it down. It's a bit tricky working underneath, but not too bad. More tricky when you're on camera and you're needing to sort of think where things are visible. Can be sometimes a bit tricky to get your needle come out. It's sometimes when I do grab my, not that I need the pliers to pull it through, but it does just help to stop the needle from sticking into the felt where you don't want it to. And then I'll just do I think that should probably hold it okay, so I'm just going to do a notch, and then I'll do another little holding stitch, and do another notch. Cut that off. Put that needle away. I should put my big needle away for the time being. So yeah, I think that's working well, just to add wonderful texture at the back. And I like to have sort of multiple little colonies of the vegetation, etc. Now we were going to put some of, is it over here? Well, I was also thinking I might use some of the little bubbles, and I was thinking I might put them along here, maybe as a little cluster over here in the foreground, because I've got some of those up here. I'm not sure how well you can see them back there. Everything nested in. Oh, I didn't show you this. I've got this little bit of beading. This was off this bigger beaded piece that I showed you. So I've just got this like little dewdrops caught along the top of the rock. It is tricky with the light for this piece, showing you what it looks like in its entirety. So yeah, we'll attach those ones in. I could have actually kept myself threaded, but I didn't. But I've still got my thread here. Put my pliers away though. So we'll get our little bobbly bits on. Nothing goes to waste. I'm sure I'll use the other bobblies for future texture pieces, because they're the perfect mossy colour, which are the texture pieces that I particularly enjoy making. So I'm just going to come up with the thread through the base. Just like this, and that will probably hold them in place, but I'll just do one or two more to be sure. A bit easier to bend it on the side to be able to tie the thread off underneath. Leave that threaded, because no doubt we'll need more green. I was going to show you how I'm doing these little French knots. I'm just using this orphan thread. I think I just got this in a mixed bag from the op shop. I'll use my big javelin needle. Generally for French knots, anything that's about the same sort of size up and down, not a particularly bigger eye, is good for doing French knots. Sun's starting to come through the window, so it's like the dappled sun coming down into the forest floor. I didn't think the sun was actually going to come out because it had turned quite grey this afternoon. Nice temperature though. I'm just wearing a dress. Had to give Travis a shower before a wash, because I knew he was going to go for a swim. I took him to Wilson Botanic Gardens, which has the lake at the bottom, and yeah, as soon as he saw the lake, you could tell he was straining and just wanting to go for a swim. So I said, yeah, we just go round to the bit where it's a bit clearer in terms of no rocks or anything, and yeah, nice little grassy verge that goes down. So he had his swim, and when I got home I said, Alex, he's going to need a bath. And then Alex has taken Travis down to visit his parents, because they adore seeing Travis. It makes their day. And it's a good chance for me to have a bit of stitchy time. But Alex had been busy this morning because the dishwasher had died. It was non-responsive this morning. We tried everything, pulled it out. No, power's still fine, but it just was not going to turn on. again. So we've actually just ordered one online to be delivered. It does say next day delivery, but in fact it's actually going to come on Wednesday. But that's pretty good. I don't mind washing dishes, but yeah, certainly having a dishwasher makes life easier. And so I'm just doing various numbers of wraps to make these French knots. And it's a lovely sort of, it's got a thread that's got browns and greens in it. So it just, yeah, creates a beautiful, and I'm just cascading them down slightly over the edge. And I'll probably just do them continuing over around this piece. So let me see if I can just get a bit better positioning for you to be able to see. Don't know if I would be better to bring you overhead the piece. I'm not sure. Let me try that. Maybe. So I just managed to turn my camera off when I was turning it or bringing it around and down. So I've just had to restart the filming. And then I did just need to check, because it's kind of turned itself off suddenly. I was hoping it didn't not record, but no, it had captured the previous recording, thank goodness. It's hard actually when you have to like restart a recording, because you can't quite remember what you've said, like at the start of this very, not this one, but at the very start of the video. Oops, I just put a loop around there. I had to do a restart, and that's why I wasn't sure whether I'd told you about the lace pieces at the back, so apologies if I repeated myself. Just managed to put a loop of wool around the actual little clump. These are almost like little moss-covered stones, I guess. Little boulders. So yeah, I'll continue these little stitching so they're sort of covering around the base. And again, 3 or 4 wraps, really just do whatever you want. I want these knots to be quite bobbly though, so that's why I'm putting extra ones in. I'm not worried if they end up even a bit looser. Do 5 there. I'm going to have to tie this off soon, because you need a decent amount of length to be able to do your French knots. I'll just put a knot in this at the back, and then tie that off. That can go in my orts jar. As you've seen, I make good use of my orts for little nests and other things. Just get a few more. French knots in. As you can see with these pieces, you could just keep going. Fleur Woods calls it the geeking out stage. And yeah, absolutely, you could just keep playing. I do still want to add some beads on and audition a few other bits and pieces. I do even have another little set of buttons that I thought could make good little mushrooms. Now what have I done here? I've got a notch. Actually managed to get quite the notch. Obviously I was trying for the knot for the French knot, but not sure how I managed to do that. Goodness, what's gone on there? I think I'll need to cut that. Cut that, and probably, it's a good thing with a texture piece, it doesn't really matter if you're just going to add an extra little bit of texture, so I can just anchor that in, use the other notch, and then I'll just lay a few more French knots over the surface. I think the problem is it's actually getting a bit of this other thread off my wrapped pipe cleaner piece, and that's what was catching. Just have to take a bit of extra care. So yeah, if you ever end up with a felted jumper, don't throw it out. It's great to make a stitching base if you want to do a little mossy piece, and it doesn't really fray at the edge, which is fabulous. It's quite solid. Could even use that in a needle book if you wanted a thicker little page to put in it. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Whether I maybe actually, no, I'll put a few more up here. I just don't, I kind of want to cover where there's the slight whiteness underneath the little clumps. And it will also just help to hold those pieces down too. Oops. It's amazing how quickly you get through the wool when you're doing French knots. Oops. We're not going to get that many more French knots out of this piece. I think that will be enough for you watching me French knot. Just tie this off on the back, pass it back through itself and make a knot. So in my little triangle, beading triangle, I've also got these little buttons that I got from the reverse art truck. I've got a whole lot of them, and I did think they could be cute mushrooms too. And then we'd have 3 clusters of mushrooms, plus those ones, plus that little one. So I wonder where I'd like those. I was going to, but so maybe I'll do that first. I was going to lay some of this medium coloured brown along. So I'll just separate that off from its other constituent parts. It does just sort of tear down. Get a decent length of that. I was thinking I could sort of have that along the back here. Let's have a little play. So that could just come along sort of over to there. Again, I can tuck it a little bit underneath. And then I could put my little mushrooms down. And then that's good actually, because it gets a few other mushrooms around the brown one. One of my mini tins. So you've got a whole lot in this bag, but I'm sure there's some other ones in. See, that could even be a mushroom as well, that little one. Oh, what's that one? Oh, that's a sweet little one too. Okay, I'll grab it out of its little bag over here. Sorry for the rustling. I will do it a bit further away. I should probably just tip these out into my little container, much nicer than having plastic bags. And I better latch this up and put this down next to me so that I don't knock it over. Right, so I've got 3. So I could put those as a little cluster down in the foreground, or have it a bit more clustered around this one. Or I could just have 2. No, I think I want 3. Or do I want them coming along here? Or do I want to put one here and... What do we think? Got to kind of look at it in context as well. Or do I want to nestle them in so they're almost underneath here? Because they do often grow out of it. Oh, I think I quite like them in there. I think that's where they're going to go. Now, where did that button come from? I don't know. Okay, so I think I can probably still use the green thread. And what I might do is come through from the top. I think might be easier. Possibly not. I'll just pop up and then pop through. And then pop through approximately where I want the next one. me know what you're stitching. Are you working on your Roxy piece? Are you doing your stitch along embroidery? Are you working on another project, or having a relax, having a nice cup of tea? It's funny, in our stitch along last night we were all talking about food. I joked that it's sort of the common loves that we have, it's the stitching and the food. So interesting hearing about different foods in different parts of the world. Some of the UK folks were talking about pork pies, and we don't really have a tradition of pork pies here in Australia. We do pies, but just not what the British pork pies are. So yeah, I think they'll be sweet. Could have probably done some more stitches through them, but I think it will be fine. Just bring my thread up here because it'll be easier to tie off at this angle. Okay. What else? Beads. So, and we were going to do that actually, so that's what else. But I might need a brown for that. I got the Silco, but that's not browny enough. Maybe this one. It's good having my threads closer at hand. Even though it's darker, it'll probably be fine because it's quite thin. I think I can hear the garage going up, so Alex and Travis are probably back. Love how the light's catching the little grassy, ferny pieces. So what I'll do here, doesn't really matter whether I put the end on this end because it's all going to get covered. I'll probably just tuck this under a bit at this end, and then I'll just want to kind of wrinkle it up as I stitch along to just get that sort of texture. As I say, I just love doing this. It's so much fun. Any chance to play with texture. The workshop I'm doing with Fleur, it's not a texture one this time. It is painting and stitching, which will be stretching my comfort zone because, as you know, I don't rate myself as a great sort of drawer or painter, so it's going to be good. This Fleur creates such a comfortable and gentle environment in which to learn, and just so encouraging, and just being around other lovely creative folks as well will be so special. It's one of my little gifts to myself. But after the retreat I said, yeah, this is an investment I'm going to make in my own well-being, is booking in for retreats and workshops, because it fills my cup. It's exhausting on one level because it is about like you're so much in the zone, so you're obviously really in the moment, and obviously being around people, that takes its own sort of like energy draw on yourself. But yeah, it's so energizing, I think, as well. That's what I found with the last retreat, which was my first ever art stitchy retreat, so what a gift. As you can see, I'm just stitching enough just to kind of hold the pieces down. You can do as many or as little stitches as you want, really. Just try not to hook your mushrooms. Is the problem. Probably you should do your sort of lower layers first, but mine's always a bit of an evolving feast. So there's how it's looking. I will probably have to tilt you at some point as well, just to show you. I might need to actually, those I'll chuck. Might need to just, I'll probably fix that mushroom up separately, where you can see the thread that's pulling through. And then beading. That's what I said would be the final. Sorry, I've got to tie this off, don't I? And then that probably will be, I do have some little beady flowers, but I don't think they suit the forest scene as much. I think there's enough in, although they could be. I say that and then I look at them sort of sitting there and I think, oh, they're cute. But do you see? They do have little white centres in them. Sorry, the sun is really shining on it. Yeah, okay, we're going to go with those. I've still got my needle. Well, that's my beading needle. I've still got my other needle threaded. I can always take them off if I don't think they fit, or you can tell me if you don't think they fit with a piece, but I think they do look good. Sun's really shining in. Oh, how do you, maybe they're not, are they all like this? Oh, do you have to go through, just seeing they don't seem to have a hole in them, so maybe you have to go through the little bit of wire in the base. I'm not sure. Maybe they're not beads after all. I can't see a hole in them. Unless you need to go down that way. Nope. So I think unless you were, maybe they're meant to be little inserts in something instead. So there we go, that solves that problem. In which case, will we use some of our little cakey stamens? That one's lost its little bobbly bit. Some more up here. And where would I want them? Would I want them down in the foreground down here? Yeah, I think I wouldn't mind that actually. So I'm going to get rid of the one that's lost its end. Take that out. And then I'm going to take my needle through the middle of each of them. So these are used, I think, in cake decorating, but I just have a mixed jar of little flowery sort of bits. And I had some of them in here. But my mum used to do cake decorating when I was growing up. She did beautiful wedding cakes and anniversary cakes and all sorts of things with the sugar decorations. So I'll just put some stitches over to hold these in place. And I think they'll provide some nice lift in the foreground. So again, never know what materials you can use in your stitching. So it's hard to show you well, but yeah, no, I think they're lovely. I'm happy with those. So beading, finally beading. I think then I will have shown you everything I wanted to show you. I do have another little bit of that beaded, the stuff that I used for the little dewdrops up here, but I don't know if we need that anywhere. Could always have some. Then it'd be almost like a little streamy or something coming down here. I do quite like that. I seem to just keep finding things that I like. Now, what thread was I using with that? I'm just going to stand up for a moment. I'd even use this one. It's not an exact match, but might work okay. Hopefully that sun's not too bright. It's probably pretty bright on you. Might just close the blinds. So I've just closed the blinds. So apologies if the light's sort of swaying a little bit across the desk. But hopefully that will make it easier to see. And I'm just going to stitch this little cascade of beads, like a little set of a little stream flowing down through our forest floor. Just need to make sure I catch the end well, because when you cut little beaded pieces they may start to sort of fray at some point and beads might start to cascade off, although I don't want to catch my stamens. I think the light's actually much better with the curtains closed, strangely enough. So I think it was competing with the brightness outside the window. So I'll just work my way back up and add a few more stitches in anywhere where the beads look a bit loose. So I don't think I'll be able, I won't be able to go through the bead itself, but I'll just try and catch the threads. And just up at this end again, just to make sure it stays secure. So there it is, just hidden away behind there. So again, you don't instantly see it, but you kind of want to peer in and see what's happening, which is the aim. Given this will be sitting on the front of a bookshelf, it will be lovely to have, to sort of attract people to have a bit of an extra look. I make it sound like I've got a gallery or something, but no, just people that come visit. I'm just, yeah, really happy with how that's all come together. I just think that's, yeah, so much fun. Do I need my gold beads, or would that just be overkill, or do I want to put a few little gold beads around here? I do have. Probably will need to rethread. And again, I might just use my greeny thread. Put my needles up here out of the way. So this is a milliner's needle, so very fine needle for beading. You can get beading needles particularly as well. So yeah, let's pop a few little, oops, not there, maybe over here. Oops, fell off my needle. So they may even kind of sink into the felt, but that's okay. Just little somethings to just soften this area around here. Well, I've got two there, but I don't think two matter. Got so many beads in here, but sometimes even when you have a lot, it's hard to pick one up. Oops, try not to catch your mushrooms. Maybe my trouble is I'm trying for particular beads. Maybe I should just randomly see what gets on my needle. Nope, even that doesn't work. I think I've got too much in this dish actually. It'd be easier if there was fewer. And now I've caught my tail of my cotton in the end, but it's come out, that's okay. I feel like I need some a bit further up in here. So just scattering them around so they're just little tiny rocks, tiny gems. That one's 2 beads attached next to each other. It's just extra little details, miniature details, which most people probably wouldn't even notice, but we'll know they're there. Don't want them to look too much like they're in a row, so I will just sort of scatter a few a bit further out. And with beads you can go through them twice if you don't want to risk them kind of coming off, but I think these will be fine. This piece isn't going to have lots of wear and tear on it. It's not being worn, for example, or cleaned. I was going to add this one in as well, but I think I've got enough just as a little gathered like ferny thing, but no, that just gives you an idea of how you can use even little collar pieces, for example. So I'll just turn you on a bit more of an angle and give you a look. So we've got our little bird's nest, we've got our vine, our lichen, our mushies. These need to stand up at the front a bit more. So that's sort of how it will look like if you're looking down on it on the shelf, or looking across at it on the shelf. Love the little animals hiding in their little hidey holes here. I love that they're cushy and soft. Got my beautiful vintage button mushroom. Got these ones which can be bent into the shape that they need to be. Oh, did I get a bit of the beading thread? I can come back and fix that up. I look like I've managed to, yeah, I think that is some of the beading thread, so we will need to fix that up for sure. But I could do that off camera. And then up on top you've got beautiful lichen, some more baubles, some of this little dewdrop or a little stream, some of this lace edging or doily edging that's become a fungus. Got your grassy tufty bits, your bits of lace that have been dyed with ink tints attached to the background, beautiful little trail of mushrooms, little hidden colony of little bees or insect eggs, lovely orts, that meshy sort of, don't even know what it's meant to be for, French knots cascading off the edge, baubles. Yeah, just so much to see. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that being finished off. I really got carried away with it last night, so I could have happily kept going and finished it, but I wanted to come back and show you because many of you left lovely comments on it. And I know for some of you this texture work's something that's a bit more new to you, so I just love sharing it. So thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to crafting with you soon. Bye everyone.